Hello, friends. This is a podcast to show you how to make a histogram and a modified box plot. If you haven't, you might want to watch the previous podcast on doing one variable stats and putting the numbers in the list. I'm using the same numbers from that example. So, back to my calculator. Here's my printout of the one variable stats. I'm going to clear out of here. And now, to do the histogram first, I'm going to hit second and stat plot, which is the y equals button just above. And I have the opportunity to put in three plots. Now, sometimes when you graph, you'll get errors. And if you do, sometimes it's because you have a stat plot on that shouldn't be. So this number 4 here will turn all your stat plots off. So if you're getting an error trying to graph a line, you might want to do that. I'm going to clear. So once again, second stat plot. Notice all mine are off now. And I'm going to hit number 1. And so it says plot 1 here, and it's off right now. So if I hit enter on the on, now this plot is turned on. And if I down arrow, I have to right arrow all the way across to these 6 options here. And I want the third one, which is the histogram. Right arrow onto that and hit enter. And I want to make sure that my list is set at L1 because that's where my data is that I'm going to use. If it was in a different list, obviously I would change that by hitting second and whichever number list it was, and that would give me the L1 or L whatever. Okay, next thing I want to do is I'm going to quit out of this. And if I hit zoom and the number 9, and I'm just going to scroll down so you can see, it's zoom stat. So I'm just going to hit zoom 9 here, right here, zoom stat. That will fit whatever graph, whatever plot, stat plot I have onto the window. Now this does not look very good. I don't know how wide these columns are. I don't know how many numbers are in each one. So I'm going to clean this up by going to the window key. I hit window. Now I notice the smallest number in my set is 14. So I'm going to start at an even number that's lower. So I'm going to go to 10. And I want to go higher than this one. So 70. Again, the X values are the numbers in the list. In this case, the reading scores for those third graders. Now here's the important one. The X scale will make the width of each column. So by putting a 10 in here, all the scores between 10 and 20 will be in one column, 20 and 30 in the next, so on and so forth. The Y min, I'm going to change to -5 just so I have a little bit of room below to read what's called the trace menu. We'll get to that. And go up to 15, a little bit taller. So basically I'm just cleaning up and making even numbers. This is just going to make a tick mark every 5 so I can see, sort of get a count. And now if I hit zoom 9 again at this point, I would erase all these window settings. So after you've set the window, hit the graph button. And there's my histogram. And real quick, I want to show you that if I go back to the window and I change this column right here to 5, that the columns in the histogram will only be 5 apart. Now the trace key, this shows me I'm in this column, which is everything which is between 10 and less than 15, so 10 through 14, and that there are 2 numbers in that column. Between 15 and less than 20, there's 4 numbers, so on and so forth. 1 number between 20 and 25, 8 numbers between 25 and 30. Now to make the modified box plot, I'm going to go back to stat plot. So second stat plot, let me do it again. Second stat plot, keystrokes here. Now I'm going to leave the histogram and go to the modified box plot. I'm going to turn, notice it's plot 2. I turn it on. I'm going to down arrow to type, and I have to right arrow all the way across. This is a modified box plot because it shows outliers. We like that. Make sure your list is set on L1 or whichever list you're using for your data and set the frequency to 1. Now, when I go back to my window, I could hit zoom 9, but I'm going to go back to this graph button because the window's already set up. And you can see there is your modified box plot. There's no outliers in here. And if I hit the trace key again, I get the same thing I had for the histogram, but if I hit the up or down arrow, I will switch between the two graphs. So this shows me that the minimum is 14.5. The same thing I got in the 5 num sum in the one variable stats.